Hello, bonjour, namaste. Welcome to the Canada and India show, where we meet the people that make up the vibrant Canada-India relationship. Every week, we interview leaders in their fields to dive into who they are and what drives them. From the arts, to trade, to human rights, we will discover together how rich and diverse this relationship really is.
Hi, I'm Annie Dubé, Canada's Consul General in Mumbai, India. And you are listening to the Canada in India show. Thank you for joining us. On this episode, I would like to invite you to meet Annie Kim, a McGill alumni who worked as the marketing director at Reality Tours in Dharavi, Mumbai, one of the largest slums in the world. Annie shares with us her experience of working with children and women of the community and a Canadian perspective of life in Dharavi. Hi, my name is Annie Dubé. I'm your host for the Canada in India show. And today we have Annie Kim, who's with us. And she used to work for Reality Tours in Dharavi, one of the largest slums in Asia. And I'm quite excited because this is, again, she gained a perspective of India's society that it's hard for, from an outsider's perspective to gain. And I really want to have her views. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So, Amy, you're Canadian. You graduated from McGill in 2014 in industrial relations. Oddly enough, you did not really work in industrial relations from your studies. You focused more on marketing and communication. And so that led you eventually to come to Mumbai. So tell me, from a Canadian perspective, what is life like in Dharavi?
Wow, Dharavi is truly a microcosm, I would say, of India. You can find so much industry, so much economic activity. It's like a place that really never sleeps. Like, you'll find that when you're going in there, people are so busy working that they could care less about what you're doing there, about whether or not you're around them. They're more like, please move, please get out of my way so I can get to where I need to be.
In terms of, to give a sense to listeners, the size of Dharavi is what, roughly a bit less than a square kilometer and roughly 1 million people living in it?
Correct, exactly. So it's very densely populated. And that being said, it is a slum. So there are issues such as water and sanitation. I do remember my first day ever stepping into Dharavi. Actually, I was not prepared. First of all, I came in semi-work attire going into Dharavi, and it was very hot. It was in the heat of May. And so just to give you perspective, May in Mumbai is like sweltering, disgustingly humid. I can't even recall. I think it was like 38, 39 degrees in the afternoon. I did my first slum tour with Reality Tours, right? And I wore closed shoes. I was like sweltering. It's just like everything about my attire was not working for me. And on top of that, I was really taking in, like, for the first time, the environment. And I was like shocked at, a lot of like the open gutters, right? Where all this water, all of people's, I suppose, daily sanitary practices are just open there. Soap, water everywhere. So I was looking at it and I was like, this must not be healthy for people, especially like everyone around me was just walking around in chappals. So I was a little bit concerned. I was like, there must be some health and sanitary issues that residents face, but are clearly unbothered by because it's their homes. This is how they live. And I also remember thinking about like, wow, just how many people can live in a home? You can find like 8 people living under one roof, and like one roof meaning, homes. If you look inside or try to peer inside a home, it doesn't seem very large at all, and they seem stacked atop of one another as well. So it's very densely populated. There are water and sanitation issues for sure, and water is scarce. So residents only get access to water at certain hours of the day. Mm-hmm. And so they'll basically know that they have access to water depending on whether or not their neighbors are around and also fetching water. They sometimes leave their taps on just so they can hear the running water and like, okay, so I have running water for now. And I can't remember the exact number. I think it might be like 8 liters. We should fact check on that. But each family does get one of these big blue buckets, basically, to fill up with water. And that's the amount of water they can use for one day, really.
So Reality Tours, the purpose of it, why do they deliver tours of the slum? Mm-hmm. What are they trying to showcase to outsiders?
This is a really good question. I think a lot of people, at first when they hear you do slum tours, that's disgusting, that's deplorable, that's poverty tourism. And reality tours actually would hit back and say, no, we're actually trying to showcase a completely different side to slums in India. And Dharavi in particular, how special of a place it is. It's a place teeming with economic activity, with innovation, with a lot of youth that are relentlessly working. And because of that, reality tours just really wants to dispel any sort of misconceptions that people may have. People might think it's dangerous. It's not. I can say that for a fact. Anytime I was walking around and I looked a little bit lost or I needed some help, there were always 1,000 people around me to help. There's so many times where I remember needing to catch a ride back home and not being able to find a taxi or any form of transportation on my way back. And there were like at least 4 or 5 people around me who would go searching for empty cars. And actually, I don't recommend this. I do not think that people should be hopping on motorcycles with strangers. But one stranger in Dharavi, this young boy, sent his brother to drop me off because he was like, I was late for a meeting and there was so much traffic. And so he just took me to where I needed to go and drop me off. And I was so touched. And these are the kinds of things that residents always will do, right? The children around Dharavi they're just the cutest and they're always playing, they're always out and about. And sometimes there are times when I question them, like, should they not be in school? I wonder why they're not in school. They're maybe helping their parents with their family businesses. The reality of it is even a lot of the tour guides that we employ, or that Reality Tours employs, a lot of them should be studying, but due to financial problems that their family is facing, they can't. So they have to take up like full-time work to supplement whatever income that their families can manage. And so that's the sad reality of a lot of, I suppose, youth in Dharavi. And I would also argue that gender issues are still prevalent for sure. I think Dharavi is still predominantly conservative. And a lot of girls at some point, if they had the choice, the family members or the parents would rather not send their girls to school per se, because they're saying, well, you're just going to get married anyways.
And there's going to be a dowry, so there's a cost.
There's a cost to
giving the girl away here.
Exactly. So all of these sort of like conservative, traditional ways of thinking are still prevalent. They're slowly being combated, obviously, through the younger generations. And I think technology, global access to information, everything is really getting the youth to look at things differently. If you look at a lot of our tour guides that are women, the fact that they're women and, they have jobs as tour guides running tours through slums is incredible. It's a feat. Some of them did have to fight their families on it, but eventually they convinced them and they're doing very, very well and they're studying. So there's a lot of progress. I remember walking in after like going off. So there's in the Reality Tours offices down like sort of a little lane near the main road, right? And there's all these little snack shop owners, and I used to always go and get my roasted chana, my roasted chickpeas as a snack and walk back into the office. So I did that and walked back in, and in the first floor of the foyer, I was staring at a reception center and I was like, are there chickens in our reception center? I was like, why are there chickens in our reception center? And I was looking around and everyone was acting as if it was like the most normal thing in the world. And I was like, guys, who left their chickens here in the office? They can't be here. Like, is this normal? But what happened is that I realized our office has become like almost like a little community hub where people can come sit and just relax and chit chat, because we do have a very strong relationship with the community members. So one of apparently a neighbor decided to leave his chickens and he was going to come back in a few minutes. So things like that happen.
Someone needed a babysitter.
Correct. And apparently, our guys in the office are the best people to go to. Because there'll be someone there 24/7.
This is hilarious.
Right.
How many tours a year do you usually do at Reality Tours?
Well, okay, if you're only looking at slum tours, so we don't not only do slum tours, right? We do city tours and also tours all over India. And recently we just launched tours in Nepal as well. So we're trying to push beyond. But I believe, if not mistaken, 15 to 20,000 visitors a year.
15 to 20,000 visitors?
A year, yeah.
In Dharavi only?
Yes.
Oh, this is massive. Wow.
Oh, and actually there's an interesting fact that this year, I believe on TripAdvisor, there's these like TripAdvisor top destinations of the year. And I think, yes, I'm not mistaken, Dharavi surpassed the Taj Mahal.
Wow.
As a place to visit. So one could argue that, slum tourism has really taken off, for better or for worse. There are pros and cons. Reality sees it. They are actually providing a solution for the community through giving these tours and employing people while they're at it, right?
Oh, that's great. So Reality Tours is linked to the NGO Reality Gives.
Correct.
What is Reality Gives doing in terms of making a change, a lasting change for Dharavi?
So Reality Gives.
Reality Gives?
It
Yeah.
used to be Reality Cares.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reality Gives runs a school. It's called Royal City School in Dharavi. And I can't remember, I think about 200 students are educated a year. So really, Reality Gives focuses on education as a tool for empowering youth and to helping them build life skills so they can potentially gain more and achieve more later on. There's also computer classes and English classes as well. I'm not sure if they're still running them. I do know that due to lack of funding and a few financial stresses, some programs might have had to be cut out, but they're still definitely focused on education. They're running their educational programs.
It's such an eye-opener when I've done the tour in Dharavi back in the days. I think it was 2006 or 2007. I can't remember. And I don't think we can comprehend how life is in such an environment. How do you see India changing in the coming years with the demographic and having half of the population below the age of 25? So how do you see this changing or not maybe? But
I think a lot of youth, things are slightly different in the sense that I think this is not just pertinent to India, but youth, I've noticed a lot of them are aspiring to pursue studies, and then they also are not very interested in buying and like owning property, in buying and owning transportation because of the inventions of Uber and you can still rent. And a lot of I think young Indians would aspire to actually leave India and potentially pursue occupations abroad if they can. If they can. It's a highly competitive market. That being said, they do understand that the earning capacity, salaries in India are low in comparison to the rest of the world. So based on of what I've seen, a lot of people do aspire, like one day I would love to be in, Canada and America and all these. There's still that element of, I suppose, like wanting to go beyond.
it's a good segue to your current role for the Nirja Modi School, which is based in Jaipur, but you're based in Mumbai here, and you are the Director of Marketing and Communication for that school. And you interact a lot with young Indian students. How is it on a daily basis? What type of ambitions do they have for themselves? And you touch a bit on that, but I want to have a sense from that school's perspective.
It's truly invigorating. When you're on campus, there's nothing else like it. The energy that they exude and that you also like are around. It's something special. I think a lot of these students are aspiring to go abroad, and they're aspiring to become engineers, doctors, environmentalists. Like I think I've seen an increase in people who want to try to find solutions to combat climate change. How do we more effectively work on sustainability? These are kind of issues that a lot of the students that I've been in touch with are interested in, and it's actually very exciting and it's quite promising. There's also quite a few students who are involved in robotics and inventing things. So that's also something I don't think it's up and coming. I think maybe it's something that's a lot more accepted. And I'm hoping to see more girls as well get more involved in like the STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math subjects.
Yes, there's still a certain way to go, but it's fascinating indeed to see the ambition and the energy that we can feel it. You just land in the place and you see there's a different vibe to India. Moving on to other topics, I was wondering, what is your most touching moment in all your time in Mumbai? What has been defining?
Oh, wow. Defining? There have been several. Okay, let me think about it. I think this is quite impactful for me. When I was in Dharavi, I remember I was shared a ride with one of our tour guides, and he was, I believe, 18 years old at the time, and I was talking to him, and I didn't actually know very much about his background, so I was asking him, so tell me about your family, this and that, and like I said, a lot of our tour guides or a lot of youth in general in India need to supplement income to their families, but really talking to this boy, I won't name who, I felt this incredible like pang of sort of like really understanding as a Canadian, the privilege that you have, right? Because this boy had to work, and I asked him, like, so why aren't you going to school? And he was like, well, very matter-of-factly, he's like, I can't. I had to drop out because we don't have enough money to pay for rent, and, our home just got demolished. And so we need to pay for rent now. Beforehand, we weren't. And it is what it is, really. And his brother had also taken up an extra job. So those kinds of realities are definitely things that stay with me, right? I think hearing someone who I was working with tell me all those very personal stories about their family and why they're actually working in Dharavi, being a tour guide, actually reinforced my idea, and it did reinforce a sense of privilege. And I was taken aback. I was like, okay, so truly, it's really an eye-opener.
Yes, it is. You've been impacting the lives of people there through reality tours and now through the school you're working for. What type of impact do you want to create before you move on to the next city in the world?
I actually think I'll be staying here. I just got engaged.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So, but the impact I want to continue making, definitely I'm interested in education. I'm interested in girls' education. So interestingly, there's a girls' program as part of the school I'm working with right now in Jaipur, where they educate underprivileged girls for free. And I think a lot more can be done in terms of bolstering and nurturing their program to become something much bigger, and hopefully giving the girls more opportunities to grow in various aspects of life, not just in their studies. So that's something that I'm very passionate about, and I hope to pursue that further. Yeah.
That's excellent. What is your hope for India beside the girls? Where do you see India going?
Wow, I see India becoming increasingly globalized. It already is, especially Mumbai, but even the other cities like Jaipur, you just see it modernizing at such a rapid rate. So I think like anytime you're in any city in India, you should not be too surprised to find all sorts of nationalities working in various industries, really. Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, French, English, everywhere. People are everywhere. And so that's something that I do see increasingly happening in not just the mega metropolitan cities, but also in other cities around.
If there's one thing from Canada you could get in, or is there anything from Canada you miss in your life here?
Oh, yes. Please bring me back a big bottle of maple syrup and clean air. Please, just some clean air. Maybe a few of the parks as well.
Oh, yes.
The green parks, yes.
Well, India is a tourism destination as well. So there's so much to see.
Exactly.
So I think a mix of both a mix of visiting India, visiting Canada, it's different sides and different objectives, but definitely worth seeing. Well, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really thought your experience in Dharavi is unique from a Canadian perspective. And yes, I wish you the very best in your future endeavor.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode. Discovering India also means discovering places like Dharavi. I highly recommend that you take the time to do so. Join us next week for an episode with Shaylee Chopra from She the People TV as we celebrate International Women's Day.
We are thrilled that you shared this time with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on our social media channels. On Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, we are at Canada in India. You can listen to all our episodes wherever you get your podcasts, so please do subscribe. Thank you. Merci. Dhanyavad.